All right, episode 112. Joining us today is a pride and joy of Manistique, Michigan, USA. He's a Null, USHL, and NCAA alum. He just wrapped up his first pro season with the Adirondack Thunder, where he took the league by storm, leading his team in points with 57 in 69 games as a rookie. I've had the pleasure of playing with him at 15 years old and 25 years old. He's as solid as they come. My guy, TA47, Tristan Ashbrook. Welcome to the Buzz Pod. Thanks for coming, bro. And how you doing?
Thanks for having me on, Neeks. I've been following the Buzz Pod ever since you made it. Every time you had a Omaha alum on there, I'd watch it. So I'm not gonna say it took you too long to invite me out here, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, I think it did take me way too long, but I think it's because we got to play together this season and kind of rekindled the friendship a little bit. I guess that's honestly why. I mean, playing with you, I learned a lot from you, especially the whole that stuff, like the rubbing and all that stuff. And we're gonna talk about that, but I learned a lot from you this year, and it was just so nice to see you and like to see your growth as a player. I mean, as a person, I think you've always just been like just a good dude, kind of quiet guy, but when you get to know you, especially sitting next to you in the stall, you're a pretty funny guy. Got some good chirps, but it's been crazy to see like your growth as a player, because I remember when we were playing together in Omaha AAA, you ended up going up to U18 and all that stuff, and we're gonna get into that, but I really want to start with this season, TA, because what a year for you. I mean, you led the Adirondack Thunder in points. You added 16 points in 19 playoff games, sixth in playoff scoring. I mean, just an unbelievable season. And it's even more impressive because you started the season with Fort Wayne in the ECHL and you were released. And a lot of people in that situation would be like, man, maybe like this isn't for me. Like, this pro thing isn't for me. But you get picked up by Adirondack and the rest is history. But talk a little bit about this season, that early adversity, and then just taking off.
Oh yeah, exactly, man. No, it ended up being a really good year, but like you said, there was a lot of uncertainty in that beginning half there. So I had signed with Fort Wayne about this time last summer, and it sounded like it was going to be the right spot. Ultimately, I got into camp and they had some guys sent down and just didn't work out there. So I took it pretty tough, honestly. That was a hard way to start your pro career, not working out there, but just kind of kept my head down and waited to see what was next. And it turned out that Adirondack was that step. And I got out there and it seemed like I kind of showed up on a tryout, definitely needed to make a name for myself, especially after what I just transpired in Fort Wayne. But I got things going pretty quick. And then, yeah, the rest was history. It ended up being a really great year.
How much time was it between the time when you got released from Fort Wayne and then the time that you got picked up by Adirondack?
It was a pretty good chunk of time. Like I went down there for camp and I think I got released after 1 week of camp. So it was, camp started on Sunday. I got released that following Sunday. And then I went home, just was skating by myself. I mean, I'm not really from, a real hockey hotbed up here and way up north of Michigan. So I was renting the local ice and skated by myself for about a week and a half. My wife was actually out there with me. She has no hockey experience, but she came out on the ice and was pushing pucks around. So I got to owe a little bit of credit to her. But yeah, I was at home for probably a week and a half. Finally got a call from Pete at Adirondack, and he basically said like, what happened in Fort Wayne, and do you want to come out here and give it a shout out here? And I said, absolutely. That was the first team that called, first team I talked to, and I mean, it ended up being a great fit. But I mean, I was desperate, honestly. There was nothing happening for me at that time.
The
Um,
unknown,
I,
baby.
I wonder what the coach of Fort Wayne was thinking when he looks back at the stats now.
Yeah,
I
crazy,
know,
man.
yeah,
That
Crazy.
was my
yeah.
former coach, Jesse Calici. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, you know him a little bit then there.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy, man. But the crazy thing is the unknown, man. We talk about the unknown and living in the unknown. And as pro hockey players, especially if you're not in the National Hockey League, there's so many times where you're just living in the unknown. You have no idea where you're gonna live. You have no idea if this is going to work out. At times, it seems like that week probably felt like a year for you, just always checking your phone, seeing if someone called, and maybe putting it on airplane mode, going for a walk, taking it off, and then being like, no missed calls. Oh my God. But talk about that week, though, being in the unknown. Obviously, you said you were skating alone and your wife was helping you, but was there some doubts flowing through, or were you always like, I know I can play in that league and have a good impact in that league?
Oh, that's a great question, man. Honestly, it really was a tough time, a lot of unknown there because, the whole time that I was kind of there that whole week, I mean, I was thinking, I was like, I know I can play, I know I can make a difference at this league, and I really want to get my chance to prove that. And so, yeah, it was a tough week. I mean, to say that it didn't weigh heavily on me is just, that's just not true at all. Like I was in a frustrated spot for sure, but at the end of the day, you just gotta have faith that the right thing will work out. And it was out of my hands at that point, so I was hoping the right thing would work, and then just try to make the most of my opportunity whenever it would come.
Control the controllables, baby. I love it.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely. Like, I think every guy that's been in that situation knows that that's just a depressing time. Like, you don't even want to use that word, but it's just like a tough times. You're just like, fuck, I can't believe someone thinks I'm not even good enough to play in the league. And when I think I can be like a legit impact player in this league, but then you go and in your first year, like right away, quick turnaround, a week and a half later, you start to just tear the league up. I mean, 57 points in 69 games is no joke as a rookie coming in to the ECHL out of the NCAA. I mean, can you just talk about your time in Adirondack and just like how you grew as a player and how you were able to kind of just what you thought of yourself, you were able to put it out onto the ice, which is a lot harder than people might think. Like I think a lot of guys know how good they are deep down and they just haven't been able to put it on the sheet, and it must feel good to finally put it on the sheet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't like I showed up to Adirondack and I was, just lighting it up right away either. I think honestly the way that I kind of cracked the team, because I mean I was basically, on a tryout for my first, however many games you get to a team, like they're still kind of waiting to see what I could provide for them. And at the time, I mean, we had all the offense we needed. And so I was not really counted on for any of that. I was playing a little bit smaller minutes to start with, naturally when you go to a new team. But the way that I kind of got my foot in the door and got to stick in Adirondack, I think was more so with my, honestly, with my face-offs and then like my defensive side of the puck and penalty killing. I was playing maybe, I don't know, I was playing under 10 minutes a game my first little bit there. And at that time, bounced between center and wing and that. And then I started to pick up a little heat with the face-offs. And I talked with the coaching staff a little bit, and they're like, you've been pretty on the face-offs. That's something you work on, stuff like that. I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's something I know that is important, especially at the pro level. So I took a lot of pride in that, and I would get put out for face-offs. I'd have the old face-off, get off on the power play, stuff like that. So yeah, I'd jump out there, win a face-off, hustle off the ice, and I mean, I was honestly feeling good about it. I was like, at a time like that, you need to do anything you can to,
Nice to be counted
you know,
on for anything at that time.
The yeah, the
exactly. Yeah.
the Fogo diet, face off, get off.
I was on a steady Fogo diet for a while there.
That's unreal, man. It sounds like you just kept that belief when things didn't go your way. Like when I get my opportunity, I know based on the training that I have or the things that I've done in the past at school, and you just kept that belief and rode it right in through this season and made your mark, man.
So you started getting face, and I remember you were doing the Fogos when I was there as well. But then just talk about just working your way up into the power play or even like the top six, a steady top six diet for the kid.
Yeah, primarily my role, I think, to start with that first month of the year was face-offs. I got on the PK pretty early too, and I was doing good. I was doing pretty solid with that. Just trying to be sound defensively. No mistakes, break the puck out quick, help out down low, and then as I started to get a little more comfortable with the team, everything like that, then I think I started to play a little more confidently with the puck. Like to start with, I mean, I wasn't trying to do anything special with the puck. Just chip it out, just 3 5 foot passes. I wasn't playing fully like dump and chase and get off, but I was not making any sort of uh, conscious effort at the offensive side of my game. So once I started to feel a little more confident, I felt like I had a little bit of breathing room. I didn't feel like my first turnover I was going to get sent back home. Then I kind of try to implement the offensive side into my game as well. So a couple pucks went in, and then I started to get a little opportunity, and it ended up working out well.
Next thing you know, it was bar down, ding, 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 and then it was like toe drag and then little backhand. Oh man, so fun to watch. Actually, I remember four different guys. I mean, I was one of the guys, but like three other guys other than me said out loud on the bench, like after you do something, like it might be something little, it might be like a crazy back check, you pick the guy off, you turn around, you're coming up the wing with speed, you make a sauce pass cross ice, you're driving the net, the guy hits you back, like just like the things you do. And I've literally heard three other guys on the bench say out loud, that guy is so fun to watch. And fuck, man, like you are so fun to watch. You have all the details in your game, and plus like you added that swagger. I feel like this year you added that swagger. I feel like if you look back to your college career, I don't know, we're going to talk about it, but I don't know if you played that way, but just like a toe drag here and there, and like just like some bite to your game, man. So fun to watch, TA. But let's before we go into your childhood, let's actually talk about this summer, because I hit you up after the season was over. I was like, man, I gotta know what you did this summer to just light the league up like this. And you mentioned routine and all this stuff. And can you get into a little bit about your summer routine last summer, coming into this season that you just had?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, I told you my secret recipe a little bit over text there after the season, but I wouldn't say there was anything that I do that's really out of the ordinary that you'd hear from a hockey guy in our position. I was trying to really work on my flexibility, my strength at the end of those ranges, just try to stay as healthy as possible going into a much longer season than the NCAA. Playing twice as many games virtually. I just knew that having that longevity was pretty important. But yeah, I didn't really change up too much. Probably at least once, twice a week I would do yoga actually for the first time in my life. I started doing that. So that I think that I was seeing some benefits from that. I mean, you don't really understand how difficult some of those yoga classes are until you really get in them. I was going to some of those, and I mean, I'm on a mat right next to somebody who's at least 40 years older than me, and they're just doing this stuff easy, and I'm shaking like crazy the whole time. But
Yeah, real quick before you continue with your summer, man. I went to a Pilates class with my mom. My grandma,
uh,
we come into the class. It's in the neighborhood that my grandma lives in. We walk into the class. My grandma's there. She's ready to go for the class. So I'm like, all right, well, my grandma's there, my mom's there, a couple other ladies, women, and I'm the only guy and, professional athlete. And so I grabbed like the heavier balls, the 10-pound balls. Everyone else got the 5-pound balls. Dude, Pilates on a mat, not even on the reformer. Absolute bagger. My grandma was doing it. She's like almost 70, I think. It was unbelievable. Such a humbling moment. But anyway, continue with your yoga. I had to mix that in.
Dude, that's an awesome story. That's exactly how it feels though. Like I was going in there and I mean I was like, yeah, come on now. I played, a Division 1 sport in college. Like I've been playing sports my whole life and then you get in there and just kicked my ass. Like some of these poses and everything, I can't hold those. And they're like before the session, the girl in the front's like if you need to just sit down, take a break, go in whatever, have a water break,
Like,
like at any time, like feel free. I'm like, yeah, okay, like you guys might want to do that, but sure enough, I was the one taking the breaks the entire time. But um, just kind of building off kind of that yoga work. I was doing a lot more band work, a lot with the mini band. Just yeah, I don't know, just trying to really compact myself, like be pretty sturdy. Just try to get as healthy as I could going into the first season, and try to build up those habits that I could continue to do every day.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I have this text up. You mentioned like the biggest thing for you is just staying consistent with your routine before you get on the ice in the summer, which I find is like so valuable for kids to hear that are tuning into this pod right now, and even guys that play pro that tune in. Like I skate with a ton of guys that just pull up in the summer and get on the ice, where it's like, man, like during the season you got to be there an hour before at least, and so you're for sure doing something. Like you got to do something before you get on the ice. So I feel like it's so important that you're doing a routine before you hop on the ice. So were you doing like all band work and stuff in the off season? Do you still do that before you hop on the ice? You get to the rink early and do some band work, a little dyno?
Yeah, so I started, I kind of added and I mean, took away a couple things, but I was just kind of incrementally building up what ended up being my kind of routine, I guess, when I was in season. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I was one of those guys who'd show up to the rink. It's hard in the summer, like, it's great weather, you got everything else going on, visiting with family and friends. But for me, we would skate pretty early. Like we get on the ice, I think like 7 a.m. And I knew that if I showed up at 6:30 and got dressed, got on the ice, like the first 2 or 3 drills, first 15, 20 minutes of practice, were going to be wasted by me getting warmed up. And I just didn't really feel like that was something that I wanted to do or could afford to do just in trying to prepare myself for the season. So yeah, I get to the skates a little early, get on the bike, do a series of band work, a little bit of like core glute activation, stuff like that. And then, quick dynamic warm up and then get on the ice so that, for that first drill, it's 7:01, like I'm ready to just have a great practice and then, go from there. But, yeah. And then, as we were saying, that kind of translated into the season as well. I know we're talking about the off season here, but when I get into the season, like I would do my same routine, bike, band work, stretch, and then dynamic warm up before every time I hit the ice, practice, pregame, skate, game, just so that I knew I was going to feel the exact same every time I got on the ice.
We were on the bike together quite a few times.
Oh yeah, you'd beat me into the gym. You'd be on the bike, and usually, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even go through the work to setting up the music, but I'd come in there and it would be blasting just whatever you were listening to at 6:30 in the morning, and I was like, "All right, man, like that's how it's gonna be."
Man,
Let's go.
that's a great summer routine. And I mean, exactly what you said, it translates directly. What you do in the summer before your skate, why would you treat it any differently than the season? Because that's the exact, you want your body to feel as close to the same every game during a season. And it doesn't feel like that during the summer.
Just
I
being a
want to ask
pro.
you exactly, you're just pro in the dark and during the season. And so I want to go back to yoga because I found it helped me a ton. What did yoga teach you besides obviously the different postures, but like the breathing and maybe some mindfulness? Like what did yoga teach you?
So I would say some of the biggest things I took away from it were, one, there's, so many more muscles that I never touch when I'm just working out in the gym. You obviously hit your quads, glutes, chest, shoulders, everything like that with the dumbbells and the weights, but like you don't really understand how everything needs to be connected until you're on that yoga mat and you're doing those different poses that really force you to have everything in tune. And then just on like, yeah, the mindful side of it, when you're breathing, I honestly, I'm still not perfect with the, breathing. I still get out of shape, so I can't do it exactly how they say, but it just kind of feels like you almost like level out your body a little bit. Like you kind of get a little bit of a reset every time you go in there, you get a sweat, you're moving in different ways that you haven't before, and then you walk out of it, just kind of feeling like you hit that reset button and you're just feeling a little more yourself again.
Absolutely. I totally agree. There's times you go in there, you're like, wow, my hips have been taking a beating. And by the time you leave, you're like, wow, I could skate right now. I feel great. Um, for me, I found that like being able to control your breath and manipulate your breath with your body to like keep balance or keep a position or to release a muscle, like the power of the breath, and then translate to the ice when you're have a long shift or you grind down low and you're putting in a lot of work and you get back to the bench and you're like, like really trying to suck wind. You just naturally revert back to your yoga practice of trying to control your breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and try to recover as fast as possible. And that breath work alone from yoga is so valuable and easily applicable to hockey like right away once you start using it.
And
100%.
and if you want to hear some crazy tricks, Z, real quick, can you talk a little bit about what you do before you get on the ice, TA? I don't know. I don't remember if you were doing it before practice, but I remember you were doing it before games, and it was like to wake up your spidey senses, and you rub here, right in your temple, or behind your neck, or can you just explain it because I'm gonna butcher it.
Sure.
Well, this is
Yeah, I can
the
explain
blood
it.
vessels.
Yeah. So there's all those different I don't know what you want to call them, like pressure points, I guess, within your body to kind of wake up your nervous system, different blood flow, stuff like that. There's guys a lot smarter than me who have done all the research on it, but it works for some, it doesn't work for others. But that was something that I picked up while I was at school at RPI. Our trainer was really big into that. So you basically, you just take your thumb and you hit a pressure point. There's one on the bottom of your skull on the base, both sides.
Yeah.
And you just kind of dig in with it. I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds each spot. And then there's one on side of your jaw, both sides there.
You like going
There's
like
one on, yeah, exactly. You get some funny looks in the locker room when you're doing this.
oh yeah, I
But
did it with you one game. And then you do the inner part of your knees as well.
yeah, VMO. Yeah, and then you do your psoas, just it's 2 inches over, 2 inches down from your belly button on both sides. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think there's a few others, but just something I picked up that ended up going through my routine. I think it adds value. I'm sure there's some studies that
It
say it doesn't
also
really
it
do it.
also it also for sure like in your head it adds value. But what's the study behind it? What is it supposed to do?
Uh, Something with waking up your central nervous system, getting
Okay.
blood flow in those areas. I don't know if those are spots that are like tighter or they're a lot of, yeah, like Zach maybe said, like some blood flow areas, stuff like that. But for one reason or another, it seems that it works in my routine. So I don't know.
Anything
I'll
to
stick
get
with
an edge. Hey, it worked for you, man. I'm gonna start doing it for real before every skate. I remember I did it with you for that game, and I tried it again one time when I was in Iowa, but like it wasn't a part of my routine, so I would just do it when I remembered. But I'm gonna make it a part of my routine because it definitely worked for you.
I
it.
have
Sounds good.
a I have a great friend that I played with this past season who would do it, and I would look at him and be like, "Yo, slaves, what are you doing?" And when I was researching, I was like, Josiah Slavin and Tristan Ashbrook cross paths. And I'm wondering if he'd be like this in the locker room, like getting himself going. And I was like, it's kind of dialed. What's he doing? He would also lay down and do some diaphragmatic breathing. But did you guys do that together in Lincoln?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. He's probably, if he's watching this, he's gonna be like, "What? He didn't see that in college. He saw me doing it in juniors all the time." But I did actually. I saw slaves doing that in juniors, and I mean, I was the same. I saw him, and I was like, "What the heck are you doing, man? Like, doing all that stuff." And he explained it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, it works for him, whatever." And then not until I got to school and our trainer made us do it. All the time, made us do it every day. That's when I was like, okay, I should probably go back and tell him he was onto something. But yeah,
That's
Slave's great buddy of mine. He was the best man at my wedding last summer too. So
that's
love that.
wow. That's
That's
super
awesome.
cool. He when I texted him that you were coming on, he said, ask him about the coolest goal that maybe he's ever scored, but it's the coolest goal that I've ever seen. He'll know what you're talking about.
Oh man.
A lot of goals to think back on, I know.
Especially
Yeah.
now.
Well, this says, come on. Uh, I I'm trying to think of the one he's talking about. I don't. Did he say that I scored it, or did he say that he scored it?
He said, uh,
Because if it's he scored, I know exactly what one he's. That was probably the coolest goal I was a part of.
scored one of the coolest goals of my life with him. So he
That
scored it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right, I'll walk you through. It was a pretty crazy play. I'll never forget this play. We were playing. Yeah, it was when we were in Lincoln. We were playing NTDP, and it was we were playing the 17s, but it was that loaded 17s team with like I don't know Turcotte, Caulfield, Zegras, Boldy, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the play start? But anyway, Slaves and I end up going down on a rush, and the puck's going up the left board. I'm chasing after it, and the D comes to pinch over on me, and he's about to reach it first, and I lay out, dive, sweep my stick, and it just like I think it's sauced over the defenseman's stick who's reaching out for it, and Slaves just backdoor tap in. But probably the coolest goal I've ever been a part of.
That's nasty. Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've
The
seen you do
diving
cooler
slide with the
stuff this
blade,
year.
with the blade
Yeah,
hook.
yeah, slide, hit the blade. Yeah, exactly.
Sick.
Crazy.
That's nasty. All right, well, let's take it back. Is that how you say it? Manistique, Michigan?
Yeah, Manistique.
Manistique, Michigan. Sick. So let's take it back to Manistique, Michigan. You're a young 98 TA. July 16. You're still 25, eh?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Young buck. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister. She is 3 years older.
Okay, you have an older sister that's 3 years older, but growing up, I mean, how'd you get into hockey?
So no one in my family before me played hockey. There wasn't any hockey experience in the family, but I can't remember the exact story. I have to get my dad on the pod next time and ask him, but
Oh man,
we'll
you can
guess it.
phone a friend, man, whenever.
Yeah,
But like, how old were you when you started playing?
I think I was around 4 years old, maybe five when I first laced him up. But I think it was kind of, story of we were watching it on the game. My dad always loved the sport, but he came from a place that there was just no hockey. So,
Where's your
um,
dad from?
well, he is from Michigan, but he's from extremely rural part of Michigan. Like there wasn't an
Okay.
ice rink within several hours of him.
Oh, okay.
So uh, anyway, he was a fan, so we were watching hockey. I think when I was just a little guy, and ended up giving it a shot. And yeah, I just had a ton of fun with it. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and um, yeah, it was just a blast. I always loved playing. I played a few other sports growing up. I played a lot of baseball. Ended up giving football a try during middle school, but ultimately stuck with hockey. It was just something I always loved to do.
And like the first team on your elite prospects is a Marquette Electricians. But did you play like youth hockey for any teams like before that?
Yeah, so I played so Manistique, that small town I'm from. There's maybe 2,000 residents, and there's a rink there. Um, but it was like a house run league. It was up until maybe like peewees or squirts or peewees. They were running organized hockey there, but nothing really beyond that. So when I was in squirts. I don't know what I think they're not calling it squirts anymore, are they? It's like,
Dude, it's
you know,
so annoying. I was telling kids the other day, like I played squirt single A, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "How old
What?
are you?"
They
And they're
changed it?
like, "Yeah, they don't call it squirt or
it's all
peewee
by
or
age, I
midget.
think now.
They don't call it squirt, peewee, or midget because those are like insulting, apparently."
What?
Yeah.
When did they change it? And now what is it referred to?
I think it's 2 years ago. I think now they just call it U11, U12, U13, U14, yeah, U15, U16.
Well,
Yeah.
that's confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
crazy.
I have no idea. I don't even know how old I was during those ages,
That's
but
what I'm saying, man. Like I remember I played squirt single A, then I played Pee-wee for 2 years, and then I played Bantam, and then I played midget.
Yeah. I'll try to get the ages right here, but my first year of squirts, I believe it was fourth grade, might have been fifth grade. I tried out for a travel team that was in Marquette, Michigan, which is about an hour and a half from my hometown. So my dad would drive me up to skate 3 times a week for practices, and then wherever the games were. So I mean, I played out of Marquette 2 years of the squirts, 2 years of Pee Wee, and then 2 years of Bantam. So 6 years of my dad driving me around hour and a half 3 times a week. So I mean, if there's anybody to thank for my hockey career, it's definitely that guy.
Yeah, I think you could say that for a lot of parents, but I don't think too many are driving an hour and a half for every practice. So definitely kudos to him. But and then on your EP, the first one is Marquette Electricians. Obviously, you were playing up because that's the year right after your Bantam year, right before you went to Omaha.
Yep.
So Marquette Electricians, 18U AAA, 10 points in 18 games. Were you were still living at home and making that drive, but now you didn't have a license yet, so your dad was still driving you
No.
then?
So that would have been my sophomore year of high school. And so I had been driving back and forth, to Marquette for 6 years, playing with all my same buddies every year. And then when it came to that midget year, there wasn't a 16U travel, AAA team at the time around there. So it was just 18U. And I tried out for that team, made the team, and then I lived with a good friend of mine my sophomore year of high school in Marquette. So
Oh, nice.
Dad didn't have to drive an hour and a half every day. So I think he was happy about that.
So you were kind of billeting close to home, and then the following year you make the move to Omaha. How did that come about for you? And that's where we got to play together. And how's the transition to living further away from home?
So I can't remember exactly how I got in touch with that Omaha AAA team, but I mean they were building a dynasty down there in Omaha for a few years, so I knew that they were good every year. I had considered trying to go downstate to one of those like Victory Honda, CompuWare, Honey Big teams, but just in hearing some feedback from some trusted people in the hockey world, it sounded like playing for Dave Wilkie in Omaha would be a good thing to do. So I ended up, yeah, deciding to go out to Omaha, and it was a big difference. Like like you said, I had done that sort of building close to home, but I was living with a friend. I knew their family. I could see my parents on the weekend pretty easily and stuff like that. But moving out, I think it was like 12 hours to Omaha. That was uh, that was definitely a big jump for me, and junior high school, definitely a different scene out there. But
I can't
yeah,
remember
like
right
anybody,
now. Who did you live with?
I lived with Phil Heiss.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. You lived with Phil.
Yeah,
I don't
in
remember
Philly.
who was your billets.
Dan and Kim Doggett.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever
Okay.
met them. We lived out in Gretna.
Nice.
Good
How
time.
far were you from school?
Uh Man, you're really asking some questions here. I don't
Well, I
even.
remember
It's been so
when I lived with Frankie, it was like I think it was like a 30-minute drive. Might have been
You
25.
guys live pretty far away there too, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Frankie, he would have been in a different district, but then he was able to come to school
Yeah.
with us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we drove quite a bit. So I was just wondering and were you were driving, right? Or were you riding with Phil?
So our billets let us use one of their cars. Phil and I didn't even
That's
have one,
right.
so
That's right.
they just let us drive it. Yeah, I think you remember the one story about the car there. That was kind of tough.
But hey, in Omaha, like you played that year, you played U16 and you played some games U18, like I did actually. And were we together on both teams?
Yeah, I think we played games together on both.
Yeah. But then the following year, like, a lot of us went to junior and there's two guys that I think of that stuck back that are just having great careers now, and it's you and Jasper Weatherby. Um, but you guys like stayed back, and this pod is with you, so we're talking about you, but you guys stayed back and we're playing U18 while you see like other guys that were there the year before, they're in the USHL or they're in the NAL. What was that year like for you? Just kind of knowing that, or I don't know, tell me how you were feeling. Like, were you feeling a little like you were behind, or were you kind of like everyone's got their own process and like this is mine, or what was your mindset at that time when you see you were junior eligible but you were playing U18?
Yeah, there was some of both for sure. Like I remember my first year in Omaha. I mean, that was a bit of a struggle too for me. I mean, it was tough like cracking that 16s team. Like, I mean, there were some studs on our team that year. So, I played, yeah, like I think half the season with the U16s, and I ended up playing the other half with the 18s, who, were they weren't quite as stacked at the time. But that first year I was there, it was kind of just like I mean, it was a real big learning experience. Like I wasn't lighting it up really with either team. I didn't generate a whole lot of junior interest. I don't think I even really had any, good options on the table for juniors. So, at the end of the year, I knew I had gotten a lot better there playing under Dave, and I thought, one more year there is probably just what I need. I obviously in an ideal world you want to be climbing as fast as everybody else, but everybody's got their own path to take. So um, I was comfortable going back to Omaha, developing. I knew that I'd get better development there than if I tried to squeak on to a junior team that maybe wasn't the right choice at the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up going back and having a good year there, and then had my opportunity in the NAL after that.
25 games, 39 points. And you went to national camp for the first time. And that was, I believe, our last year of eligibility for national camp. And it was your first
Yep.
time making national camp. So,
Yep.
so talk about that experience. I mean, you tore up U18 AAA, 39 points in 25 games, like I said. And then so just talk about like just getting a little confidence, a little swagger there at that point in your career, and then going and making national camp probably had a little more confidence, and talk about that experience.
Definitely. I think let's see. Was our last year of nationals? I think I was in between years in Omaha for my last year of national camp.
Oh, really?
I think so. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but um, anyway, yeah, it was our last year eligible. I had never made it. That was a huge goal of mine, in youth into junior hockey was like all the best in the US are getting the invite to national camps. So I was that was a big goal of mine, and it was cool to see that fulfilled and just kind of see where you stack up too. Like you get to a place like that, and you got some of the best players in the country in our age group there, and you can just see how you measure up and have a lot of fun competing against them. So
Yeah. In
that
Buffalo?
definitely in Buffalo, yeah,
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's a cool
yeah.
experience. And you had 2 goals, 2 assists in 5 games. Like, um, and then you go to Bismarck. I don't know if you know this, but I actually played 2 games with Bismarck. Uh it was after I played in the Q. It was a tough junior career for the kid, but I remember being there, and like, no offense, like you might tell me different, but like for me it was a tough place to be. I remember going there, and my first practice I threw up 30 minutes in. I was coming from the Q where there was like 70 games or 60 games, and like practices were like 40 minutes, but like, good details, kind of like pro practices now. But I remember going to Bismarck, and we were on the line. We were legit on the line doing suicides. And I said to the boys, "What did you guys do?" It's like, "No, nothing. This is always how we do practice." Like, what? And yeah, I remember throwing up and getting off early, and then oh man, it was crazy. And also I had to go to the hospital on my first night there because my billets, they were actually great billets. They had me set up in the basement. They had this big wooden table, and I was sitting on it was a giant wooden table. Like there was couches, but for some reason I was sitting on the wooden table in front of the TV, and I slid back, like just slid back on the wooden table, and I got a big wooden splinter, like not in my ass hole, but in my butt cheek. And I had to go to the hospital and get it like taken out, legit.
What?
So that was my Bismarck experience, man. Brutal.
Just
But
getting bagged at the rink every day, and then you come home and you just
I get a splinter in my ass. I had to go up to my billets, dude. Picture this. I'm 19 years old. My billets were great people. They had like a young daughter. And I go up, it's like 10 p.m. at night, and I knock on their door. Hey, like, and I was like stumbling, like, hey, like, I think I need to like be taken to the hospital. Like, I have a splinter in my ass. I had to show my new billet mom that I just met, my ass basically. So.
I think I know who your billets are too, by the way. I think they're the same billets as me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
yeah.
they were great,
Beauty.
right? You had the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
basement. You had the
Hmm.
room with the like little like great setup, the big wooden table with
Oh
the
yeah,
exactly the
yeah. I
table
didn't
I'm
get any
talking
splinters, but
about. You're probably smarter than me. You sat on the couch. But talk about your time in Bismarck.
yeah. So, like you said, man, like there was a lot of skating. That's no joke. I mean, for different reasons. Like every coach has their own philosophy. For one, we were going to be in great shape, and two, there were some different disciplinary things that popped up. Just really minor stuff, but stuff that you get on the line for. So, just like not team acting out stuff like that. But no big issues there. But yeah, I remember we would be on the line a lot, and then that was the only time in my life where I've been on the ice, and uh, our coach has brought out like weights on the ice, like barbells and like dumbbells and stuff, and you'd be like, we were like squatting like with bars on our back, like on the ice and stuff. I don't even remember what it was, but I really liked it there. I really liked that staff, even though we were on the line every day. I liked the way those guys went about things. Uh, I had a it was honestly a similar I think season to you know you can pick and choose different details, but honestly to Adirondack a little bit. Like I went in there, I wasn't really going to be counted on as any sort of uh, playing any sort of big minutes or any big role. And then just as the season went on, and I kind of found my stride there, it increased, and I ended up playing a better year, and then that's when I ended up getting the opportunity at Lincoln.
Yeah, 34 points in 54 games. You were drafted. Opportunity in Lincoln. You were drafted round 20, pick 314. So they had you high on their list. You were in a
Yeah,
very
I was
important
I was a
prospect.
pretty big prospect for the Lincoln Stars. I'm not gonna
You came into Lincoln, and they had people there, a little parade for TA, the 314th pick. So just talk about just always being a dog, an underdog, baby. Like going
Yeah,
into
honestly, man.
USHL camp, round 20 uh pick. So talk about your experience going in there.
Yeah, I was talking to I think like 11 or 12 other USHL teams who said they were going to take me in round 21, but Lincoln beat them to it. And yeah, yes, but that's the thing, man. Like any opportunity. So, for some reason, who knows why they ended up drafting me in the 20th round. And I go in there, and I had a good camp, good train or main camp or whatever it's called now. Ended up scoring a couple of points, made the All Star game, had a couple goals in the All Star game, and then I I went in. Well, I guess backtracking before the camp, like you said, there wasn't really any expectations for me to make the team, and I was talking with a friend in hockey before I went out there. I was at a Boston tournament, just kind of like a summer thing, and I was talking about going into the camp, and I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you got drafted by Lincoln, eh? And I was like, yeah. I mean, 20th round. Like, does it really mean I was drafted? I basically could have just picked to go to their camp at this rate. And he's like, the one thing I'll say is, he said, give them no choice. Like, just play so well, they have no choice but to invite you back for the season. So I just kind of, it's a little cliche, but that was something I really thought about a lot. I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, however it goes during camp, like just play so hard and so motivated that they really don't have a choice but to give you a shot. So yeah, I had a good camp, and then they do exit interviews with everybody, regardless of how you played or whatever after the All-Star games. And so we were lined up to go in, and I was pretty nervous. I didn't really know what to think when I got in there. I didn't think I was going to make the team, but I thought I had good camp. I didn't really know what the plan was, so I go in there, and the GM said he tossed me a folder, and he's like, show up on whatever day, September 15th or something like that, and he said we'll get you set up your billet soon, and I was like, holy shit, are you serious? And he's like, you came in, you had a great camp. We did not expect to invite you back for training camp, but you had a great week here, so we're excited to see you in the fall. Like, have a good rest of the summer. And so I
Chills.
walked out of there. I walked out of there, and I was just like, I don't know. I was in a little bit of disbelief. I thought I had played into a position that could be a possibility, but honestly, I didn't really expect that to happen. So it was pretty sweet. And then yeah, kind of the same story when I showed up in the fall. Okay, yeah, but I'll segue this into the season there. It was kind of the same deal. Like, we showed up, and there was like the fitness day, the first day, where it was all the off season stuff, and I trained as hard as I've ever trained going into that season, just because I was like, I know that if you make a roster in the USHL, you'll be able to commit D1. So unless you decide to go major junior or something like that. So I was like, it's literally right in front of me. I just got to go and seize this opportunity. So I showed up, and for the fitness day, I think I was like first in all the in almost all the categories, except for the ones that all the big boys take home, but all the speed and the stuff like that. And then kind of same deal. They were like, you made the 23 man or something. We weren't expecting it, but you had an awesome off ice thing, and you've been good on the ice too. So.
Nice.
Super cool,
What a
man.
story.
Testament to your character and what you've been through, and just what we talked about earlier, that self-belief. I was gonna ask, what was it like your first home game? Because the opening show there is probably the best in the league.
Is it
Oh, it was
the ice
crazy, man.
box? The ice box.
The ice box. Yeah, it was unreal. Like, I had never seen I don't think I had ever been to a Lincoln Stars game before the home game, before my first game that I was playing. And I had heard everybody was saying like, oh, wait till you see like the pregame show and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, man, like, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. And we go out there, and like, yeah, I mean, it was the stars coming down, and I was just like,
Yeah, kind of paint the picture for people who are listening who probably haven't been.
so it's to the, if they're still doing it the same way, at least this is how it was for me. It's Thunderstruck playing, and every time like it says, thunder, like the lights go off and back on, and then there's a huge star hanging from the ceiling, and it gets lowered down to the ice like as this is playing, and then yeah, you like come on the ice, and I mean there's the spotlights are from everywhere, and there was a lot of fans too when I was playing there too. So I mean it was always loud in there. The place, it is an old barn. It was like for rodeos or something back in the
It's
day.
a
So
legit barn.
it's an actual barn. Yeah. The place got so loud, and the pregame show was like none else I've ever seen in juniors. Or honestly, like I've yet to be a part of like a pro experience that was really as like, I don't know, as intense as that, honestly.
Yeah, well said.
And
It was fun.
and then the following year you're back in Lincoln, you got an A, but when did you commit to RPI? And we can kind of like fast forward a little. Like, you go to RPI, you play 34 games as a freshman, every game, which is not a small feat, like some people may think, but playing every game as a freshman, 34 games, 13 points. Talk about the jump to NCAA, but then also the transition you made after that season to Michigan Tech.
Yep. So I committed to RPI. It was not too long into my first year in Lincoln. So it was probably November of my first year in Lincoln. I committed to them. Uh, and the plan was always to play one more year of juniors, play all my years of juniors, and go to school. So I got into RPI, and uh, shoot, where to start? It was it was a really good. I mean, honestly, I loved it there. It was awesome. A really good experience. I loved the coach. The teammates were awesome. I had a couple teammates. I had two teammates from Lincoln that came with me to RPI. Um, we were in the same class there, so obviously had a little familiarity there. Um, and yeah, freshman year was good. Uh, as a team, we surpassed expectations a little bit. We started off kind of a middle of the road team, and then we ended up moving our way into fourth place in the league, which would have earned us, or it earned us a bye in the first round of our ECAC, our league playoffs. But then, that's when COVID hit and shut down everything. Uh, we didn't end up playing a playoff game. Hard to say what would have been. Everybody could have said you were national champs that year, but we were picking up some steam at the right time. So I think we would have made a pretty good push. Where we would have ended up, I'm not entirely sure, but it was a really good first year there. And then, the COVID kind of segues that into the sophomore season. So there was a crazy, I mean, COVID was crazy for everybody, but there was a really wild turn of event, or I guess just sequence of events at RPI. So uh, it was like July or something, and we had been having team meetings on Zoom, WebEx, all that stuff in preparation for the season in the fall. And the RPI administration didn't have any plans to get the athletes back to campus. So any sport, they were just like, that's not something we're super focused on right now. We're kind of just, handling the health crisis with everything. So other teams were headed back to school, August, September, and I'm still sitting at home in Manistee, wondering what's going on. So eventually, fast forward a little bit, it was maybe September or October, and they just wouldn't allow certain like all sophomores of the school, regardless of your status athletically or academically or whatever, even if you were on a team that was playing, you were not allowed on campus. So just to minimize the amount of students that were there, I was then a sophomore, and I was emailing the dean, and they're like, I don't care, no exception, you're not allowed back on campus. So I was like, well, I gotta play, like I gotta practice, and there was no practicing being done with the guys who were on campus. They were sitting in their apartments doing online school. So I really wasn't missing out, but I think it was maybe November, late November, and then RPI just decided, they said, we're not playing at all this year. So
Oh,
there was no
wow.
plans to practice out there. No, obviously no games. They weren't going to play, weren't going to take part in the season. So that was when I kind of decided that I think it would be in the best interest of my career if I transfer somewhere that's playing. At the time, I didn't know if I'd be eligible to play games, but at least somewhere I can skate and train at a high Division I level. Because at that time, I was just at home, where no one was doing anything except sitting at home.
That's insane, bro. I had no idea that it was because they decided
Did,
to not play that season. That's crazy.
did you have to sit out when you transferred?
So I originally entered the transfer portal because it sounded like I was going to be able to be eligible. It sounded like in that spring semester I was going to be eligible. There was going to be a special exemption, COVID, NCAA. I don't exactly know what all the logistics were, but ultimately, I talked to a few teams and ended up committing to Michigan Tech, and they said you'll be eligible right at the new year. So I did end up playing games. Didn't have to sit out. I mean, there was other guys in my position who did similar, but I mean, I was probably one of the first guys who transferred in college hockey and didn't have to sit out for a full year. So
Yeah.
on that respect, it worked out really well because
Good.
formerly, as
Yeah.
you would have.
And
Good
you
point.
put up 12 points in 20 games. Like talk about going into a new NCAA organization, like kind of not knowing what you're getting yourself into, a little bit of the unknown again. And and 12 points in 20 games, like much better point per game average than the year before even. So just no sophomore slump for TA.
Yeah, it was I mean, talk about unknowns. Like, I mean, I showed up to campus there and I mean, it was the COVID year, so you guys who were playing at the time, like everybody, you'd be tested every day. You didn't know if practice was going to be canceled tomorrow for a positive COVID test. So I don't know if it was just so much chaos that I was just kind of numb to the getting used to the new team, or with all the stuff going on, I almost just like slipped through the cracks of like a new player joining a team midway through the year in college hockey. But it was honestly pretty seamless. Like I had known one or two other guys on the team, and I got into the locker room there, and a lot of introductions in that, but it really wasn't. It didn't seem to mess with the dynamic too much. You always wonder that going into a new group, like these guys have been together for so long already, and I'm just jumping through right in the middle of it. But honestly, it was a pretty good transition. I wasn't playing very much there. I mean, I ended up, yeah, getting on the score sheet a little bit, but that sophomore year, I was. You can dress 12, 6, 18. You can dress 19 skaters in college hockey. So you can either do 13 forwards and 60 or 12 forwards and 70. And I was that extra forward like the entire season pretty much.
You
But
were on the Blatchy diet.
I was I was on some sort of diet. I was on the sit on the bench and wait for somebody to get injured diet.
But over a half a point per game, bro, in the NCAA. It's no joke. 12 points in 20 games with those minutes. That's impressive. The following year, were you able to get a little more opportunity, a little bit of a bigger role? I mean, you did put up 11 goals the next year in 37 games.
I would say I got a little bit more of a role. I don't think. I mean, we had some great players on that team, and guys who had been there for longer than me, and they had been doing well. So my role in the team wasn't super big, I guess, but we were on a great team, and we made a really good playoff run. We lost our league, but we made it to the NCAA tournament. Another goal of mine in hockey, so it was good to be a part of.
You mentioned not having a big role. Is that where you worked on your defensive game and your face-offs and stuff? And that's kind of maybe because you were in the lineup every game, so you did have a role. It just wasn't a big one. And is that kind of where you started to take pride in those little things like winning face-offs, or were you strictly a right winger in college, or were you doing that stuff then? And PK, obviously.
Yeah, good question. I would say so. Yeah, like when the puck's not going in or you're not contributing on offense, you got to find other ways to get you on the ice. So yeah, my role was a little different. I played wing virtually my whole time at Michigan Tech. Up until my senior year, I played a little bit of center, but for one reason or another, the staff had me at wing. I had played center many years before that, but just where things worked out there. So it was valuable learning a different position. Learning a different part of the game. And yeah, just kind of like you said, I think it rounded things out really well. I was definitely taking pride in some different things other than offense.
Fuck yeah. Z, I mean, did you
Yeah.
ever play against Michigan Tech when you were at Northeastern, or is that not a thing at all?
It's probably a thing now, but back then, usually you played like your out of conference games pretty local. So like we would play teams in the Northeast region, so the travel expense wasn't big. Like Union, we played Union and Quinnipiac. But like we never took many flight trips.
TA, is center your preferred position now, or do you prefer the right wing?
I think center is my preferred position now, just with I don't know. I like to take face offs. I feel like that's a pretty big strength in my game. So I see myself providing a lot of value in the middle. But I mean, I played, several years at wing too. So it's good to be able to play both. I mean, you never really know what's going to be needed of you. So it worked out good.
Yeah, that's like
Mhm.
Z. That's like Z. Zio plays center and wing.
Yeah, it's you just got to be able to add the tools in your toolbox. Like another reason a coach can put you in a lineup. Um,
Exactly. Yep.
at Michigan Tech, you guys had a pretty good run in the tournament, right? Like in the NCAA tournament. Were you a part of like a? I don't want to bring up any bad memories, but did somebody score with like 1 second left in overtime or something? Or am I?
Oh,
Is that
okay.
right? Do I have that right?
So yeah, I think you're right. I was not a part of that team.
Okay.
But in the history of Michigan Tech, there was yeah, there was one tournament game they were in. They lost just a heartbreaker. Like I don't remember.
It was against. I remember we were playing the next day. We were like watching it in the hotel room, and they lost to Notre Dame. I think like in overtime with one like
Yep,
point 8 seconds left or something.
that's exactly right. I remember seeing that. That was a year or two before I was there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, that was what a
Well,
heartbreaker.
yeah. Happy you
Yeah,
weren't a part of that. How about the student section at Michigan Tech?
the student section was unbelievable. I mean, you played at Northeastern, so I mean, you know a little bit about a good student section. But at the other Huskies there, it was unbelievable too. The band, phenomenal. The fans traveled extremely well.
Yep.
We had fans at every away game. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The home games there, something I miss.
No, that's cool. You just reminded me. We're both the Huskies. That's right.
Yep,
There's like 5 teams in college hockey. The Huskies.
And
so many, and they're all old ones too. The ones who've been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
yeah, UConn too. Shout out to
Yeah,
Wheeler.
must have been hurting for names back then.
But
Yeah.
TA, we talked a little bit about this season already, but what about this off season? I mean, you lit up the ECHL this year. Actually, I got some stuff here. Six in playoff scoring, 18th in points in regular season and playoffs. Obviously led your team in points. Going into this off season, what are some things that you're doing, or are you just kind of trying to mimic the same thing you did last off season? Kind of keep with the yoga, keep with the routine, the bands. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well said.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm doing a lot of the same. Over the course of the year, you meet different guys. Like a lot of guys on our team, I'd see them in the gym doing something, and I'd be like, "Whoa, what is?" I've never even seen anybody do that before. Like there were some beasts on our team too, and you take a little bit from everybody that you see and you come across. I think my approach is pretty much the same. I'm training in the same spot with the same people again. But yeah, as different things come up, throughout last season and right now, or you'll run into some guys. I'm sure you guys have already, when you're training this summer, you get back with your buddies from last year, and they're doing something completely different now, and they just look like a different guy in the gym. So definitely, rubbing shoulders and picking their brains with stuff like that at our gym here. But for the most part, pretty much the same approach. Yeah.
So in the gym, TA, is it a good amount of weights for you, or is it more movement and like more intentional movements, or is it a lot of weights, or what kind of stuff are you doing? You mentioned about a lot of bands, but
Yeah, I think it's a balance. At the end of the day, you still got to have a few times during the week you get under that heavy weight. So, it's different segments throughout the summer, like kind of loading up, building some strength back right now, and then as the summer continues on, kind of taper it into more like season specific stuff. A lot of movement intensive, like you said. Make sure all the hips, the groins, the knees, the ankles, everything is really strong and steady for the season. But definitely a healthy balance.
and how many
Mhm.
times a week are you skating now?
I'm skating probably like 3 times a week now, maybe
Okay.
3 times. I wouldn't start skating 4 or 5 until probably next month.
Okay. All right,
So
nice.
next week.
I'm taking notes. I'm
Yeah.
taking notes. I wanted to ask you, TA, because you're a smart guy. This new thing I'm doing, Z, I don't know if you noticed, I'm putting the books that I've read this summer so far and slash reading over here. And so I'm wondering, TA, do you do any like casual reading to just continue like learning, or is that like, nah, I did enough reading in college type of thing?
I do really enjoy reading. I don't have anything real specific right now I picked up. I ordered this it's kind of goofy, but this like fitness book kind of from this guy I followed online. It's basically just like bunch of little tips on how to like get the most out of your body. So I'm reading that a little bit right now. But as far as like casual, like I don't know, like stories and stuff like that, like real light reading. I do enjoy doing that stuff, but nothing right now.
Z sent me this. Is this something like what you're? Is this the one you sent me, Z?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read it yet. It is on my list here, but is this something like what you're reading, TA?
Fucking excel that list.
Huh?
Fucking 5 a.m. club. Excel your list, man. Get rid of the 5 a.m. club and read that.
Yeah, you
Man,
gotta
it's
put
like,
that at the top of the list. It sounds like
Mental training for fitness and sports.
I like that. I like that stuff. I've read some books like that. But the one that I'm reading now, it's more like it's not so much mind as it is just like it's just like kind of repairing little bumps and bruises along the way and just his take on how to do that.
nice, bro. Nice. But Z, you got anything else, man? I'm all good, man. I really appreciate you coming on, TA. This has been unbelievable. I had a ton of fun.
Yeah, yeah, same, man. I got nothing else. Great dude, man. Good luck. Good luck in your career because climbing the mountain, fighting the good fight. So excited to see where it goes for you next season.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Oh, this was so fun getting on. It's about time, Nico. Thanks, buddy.
It is about time, man. And I'll get you on next year after you light up, hopefully the American League. I mean, we'll see what happens, right?
Thanks, buddy. Well, hopefully see both of you guys on the ice here soon. And send over one of those hats too after this, Nico.
100%, bro. I called Z before. We got to start sending hats to everyone that comes on. I'm gonna send you a hat. It's gonna ship out on Friday when I get home.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, brother.